Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host Lando, and today I'm talking about sleepers. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, like this video, and comment on what your favorite sleepers are for the 2020 season. I'm going to talk about players that may be available on your waiver wire. You've probably already drafted before, but these are guys that you might be able to either add for free or trade and acquire pretty easily for your teams. These are players that aren't really being talked about. The hype isn't that real about them, and maybe even after week one they might not do much, but I think they're going to project for a really good season going forward. And where they're getting drafted or where you could acquire them, they are going to outperform that draft price or that acquisition cost. So number one, I'm going to talk about two wide receivers, and that's going to be Anthony Miller and Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell had a little bit of hype going in training camp, but he's not getting drafted. He's probably available on your waiver wire. So if you have a free spot, if you have a running back that probably won't start or get any looks or that kind of stuff, I would add Paris Campbell on that list. I think he's primed to have a good relationship with Phillip Rivers. He didn't show enough last year for there to be real hype, but he was a highly touted rookie, and I think he's getting disrespected quite a bit. So he's a sleeper for me. Anthony Miller is also a sleeper for me. If you know me at all, you know I like Anthony Miller. I drafted him in our listener league. He posted a 75% contested catch rate. He had a really good season when he was healthy. And it's a consolidated target share in Chicago. It's going to be him and Allen Robinson. He's someone that can really show out well. He's got a relationship with Trubisky already, and even if Foles is there, he's going to be fine with Foles. There's really no one else in that receiving core. Even though they have a million tight ends in Chicago, I think Anthony Miller's a really safe bet, but you don't get the warm and fuzzies. Everyone's willing to trade Anthony Miller away. Everyone's willing to drop him on the waiver wire. But I'm saying stash him. You don't need to start him. But he's going to do pretty well as a wide receiver 2-3 in the league. So other wide receivers that are drafted that are getting slept on, Devontae Parker. He broke out last year. He was a breakout candidate for us. Mackenzie really liked him last year as a wide receiver. But people still don't really like him. He's not really getting drafted too high. And I guess no one really wants a Dolphin. But I think Devontae Parker is really set to have a really good year. Again, there's only him and Mike Gesicki that people are excited about, or that people are drafting. But those two targets, what I'm saying, consolidated target share, Fitzmagic, it could easily still go ham, and even if it's Tua, he's going to know that his number one receiver is Devontae Parker. So it's the mixed emotions. If you could acquire him on the cheap, I would take Devontae Parker. And then Julian Edelman, I talked about him in my New England receiving core video, but no one wants to take Julian Edelman. No one wants to acquire him. But Cam Newton has a tendency to check down and drop it off, or he very well could. So I think Edelman could be that veteran leadership in that receiving core. But also that brings me to my next kind of sleeper, and someone that no one's really drafting is James White. So again, check down machine. There's not too many reliable targets in New England. James White is going to be a really good start against Miami for week one. And then if he pops off, you can trade him. So if you have a chance, if you see this video before that game, maybe trade for James White. If he doesn't really blow the socks off of people, he's going to be a PPR guy that you can start all year round, and you don't need to pay much for him. No, everyone has had James White on their team, and no one wants him again. So that's why this veteran guy, James White, is a good add in fantasy football. My running backs, Duke Johnson is a really good sleeper this year. He's one that I believe in. He does it all. He can run through the tackles, and he can pass catch. Right now, what we know about the Houston receiving core is they are susceptible to injury. Brandon Cooks is already dealing with some soft tissue stuff, and Will Fuller is not known for his health concerns. So Duke Johnson might be that Mr. Necessary in that offense. I don't have a ton of confidence in David Johnson myself, so Duke Johnson is a must own. If you can get him on the cheap, even after week one, if he doesn't do much in that offense, you can still acquire Duke Johnson. He might even be dropped for the new hotness, and he's going to be a very reliable start in your flex position and will not give you a 0. I think it's almost better. He'll do much better than he did last year. I just have that feeling about Dookie. So 2 tight ends that are getting slept on are really good candidates for sleepers, and that's going to be Austin Hooper and Blake Jarwin. Now you're probably wondering, what do you mean people are sleeping on Austin Hooper? He was a number 1 tight end last year. Yeah, but he's going as a back end tight end. He's not going as a tight end 1, maybe barely depending on your league. And people weren't excited when he went to Cleveland, but I'm excited when he went to Cleveland. I think Baker Mayfield is a very competent quarterback and will target and will use Austin Hooper in that offense. There are a ton of targets. They also just signed Kareem Hunt. But again, the more weapons in that offense is going to be the better. I'm not scared about the too many mouths to feed narrative. I think Austin Hooper is a sleeper based on where he's getting drafted, and he can produce for a very consistent base when it comes to tight ends. Tight ends is one of the most inconsistent positions on your fantasy roster. So Austin Hooper provides a floor and provides a high ceiling as well. Blake Jarwin, people really love Blake Jarwin, but he's still going in the 14th round. He's barely getting drafted. With Amari Cooper having a question mark on whether he's going to be truly healthy, Blake Jarwin might be a necessary option for Dak Prescott and can be a really good option that no one really likes. Again, too many mouths to feed. Hate the narrative. Hate that. More targets, the better. He's gotten a lot of good camp conversation, camp hype, if you want to say it that way, but he's still not getting drafted that way. So Blake Jarwin is a guy that might be available on your waiver wire or could be acquired for cheap. Usually if you have a guy like Blake Jarwin, you have a couple tight ends. So if they have a TJ Hawkinson, they're probably willing to move Blake Jarwin for cheap as a throw-in piece. So next, I'm going to talk about quarterbacks. 2 quarterbacks I really like as a sleeper are going to be Jared Goff and Jimmy Garoppolo. Both of these quarterbacks either are going late in your drafts or not getting drafted at all. Probably Jimmy Garoppolo is not getting drafted at all because it's a low-volume passing offense, but I do believe the start of his schedule is going to be good enough for you to start. If you still haven't drafted for some reason and you want to get Jimmy Garoppolo in the last round, you easily can. So get him on your roster. I think he's going to easily pass for 2 or more touchdowns week 1 against Arizona, and he should be good going forward. And he's a stream candidate. You don't need to keep him on your full roster, but he's going to get you through those weeks. And in a good matchup, even in a competitive matchup, they're going to have to play from behind and score touchdowns. We've seen that before, whether it's the Chiefs or the Seahawks. Jimmy Garoppolo has the tools to keep up in a game, and with Kittle, hopefully Debo is healthy, and I love Ayuk as long as he's healthy as well. This is going to be a competitive team always, and I don't think the Super Bowl hangover will be real for them. Jared Goff's just going to pass for a ton of attempts. We know that about Jared Goff in that offense. They have a ton of weapons. They have two good tight ends. One of them should be able to keep him protected a little bit longer. And then the relationship he has with Cooper Kupp in the red zone, and Robert Woods is set to be a potential fringe wide receiver 1 in the league. His touchdowns this year should go up considerably from last year and get back to the Jared Goff we know and love. So these are my sleepers. Get these guys on your roster, and although they might not break out to be top end guys, they're going to be very viable on the back end of your team and could help you win fantasy championships. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next week.